everyone, I'm Buster Green, an anime YouTuber who mostly does Super Robot and Gundam style videos. I'm currently 19 subscribers away from getting monetized. My god, that is so annoying, huh? Anyway, so I figured I'd write this down now in case it became a bigger problem in the next episode of Gundam Witch from Mercury. This was going to be like my intro for that video, but it's such a serious and crazy topic that fuck it, let's just talk about it now. Also, I'm going to let you guys know ahead of time, I'm going to be discussing some spoilers for Zeta Gundam and some other parts of the UC timeline. Because after the last episode of Gundam Witch from Mercury, episode 6, with the Elon versus Soletta fight, it started to become extremely disturbingly possible that the Gundam aerial is filled with the souls of numerous dead children. And I'm just going to come out here now and say that, yeah, it probably is. Now, I'm not sure why, but the people who made Gundam Witch from Mercury have a huge hard-on for Gundam Zeta. It also definitely feels like the Witch from Mercury formula is take 20% of what's worked in Zeta Gundam, add in 10% of what worked in G Gundam, a little bit of what worked in Gundam Wing, a splash of Revolutionary Utena, and then the last 60% of the show is all new crazy shit that you weren't expecting. So yeah, throughout the first 6 episodes, we've been getting these hard and subtle references to Zeta Gundam, and I think the one coming down the road is potentially the craziest one. So today let's discuss the Zeta Gundam's Biosensor. Massive spoilers once again for Zeta Gundam ahead, and also Double Zeta because the same thing happened there. Now, the Biosensor is a plot device that comes up in the last few episodes of Zeta, and also Double Zeta. It's a random thingy on the Gundam, and it seems to do one thing. It channels the souls of dead people to boost the output of the Gundam's engine. And logistically, it makes no fucking sense. Now, thankfully, it's been almost 40 years since Zeta Gundam came out, and people have really tried to figure this one out. Gundam Narrative, I have to say, did a lot of the legwork towards explaining the full complications of what it was, what it is, how it would work, and now I'm going to do a dramatic read of this random bro on Reddit who tried his best to explain the Biosensor. The Biosensor. It was never mentioned in the show, and it was retconned later. The early mind-machine interface research we see in Gundam Thunderbolt reads, digitizes, and translates brain activity into computer instructions. We will probably achieve this technology in real life within our lifetimes. Eventually, however, new types are discovered, and this completely changes the game. New types can send and receive brainwaves, so they can utilize a mind-machine interface without things like amputation and massive invasive surgery. The big thing here is that brainwaves in the UC timeline are psychic in nature. Unlike electromagnetic waves, psychic waves are unaffected by Minovsky interference, so they don't have the ping delay in propagation. And this leads us to the Psychomu system seen in Mobile Suit Gundam, Zeta, and Double Zeta. The Psychomu system reads new type pilots' brainwaves and translates them into instructions, and then transmits them into whatever needs to be controlled at that time in the Gundam. The Psychomu system amplifies the signal to control the wireless system like funnels. The Biosensor is therefore a variant of the Psychomu system. Rather than focusing and amplifying brainwaves to enable psychic-based wireless communication, the Biosensor system tries to amplify the new type's psychic emissions to boost system performance. It essentially uses the brainwaves of the pilot to turbocharge the overall computational speed and performance of the mobile suit. Remember, electronics have a top speed based on semiconductor physics, but psychic-based communications kick the laws of thermodynamics right in the teeth. This leads to a side effect where the Biosensor can create out-of-nothing energy from the pilot's psychic waves and overclock the crap out of a mobile suit. Fast forward to UC-93 and we now have Psychoframe technology. This engineers the basic frame of the mobile suit at the atomic level, rather than the Psychomu and the Biosensor as a subsensor. This means that the whole mobile suit itself is now a giant psychic amplifier and resonator. This allows powerful new types to pull out crazy bullshit, like sundering a mining asteroid with understanding. Okay, so that's all well and good, but the thing of it is that this brings us to the Deus Ex Machina that at the end of Zeta Gundam in the last couple of episodes, and also Double Zeta, Suddenly, the Zeta Gundam can literally channel the souls of dead people as a power source to overclock itself and beat Scirocco in a fight. Oh, and also Snoopy in Super Robot Wars, because fuck Snoopy. Anyway, it's a very dramatic moment in the show, and for all it's worth, the heavy implication that essentially Scirocco pissed off so many dead people, got them killed, got them directly murdered, that his karma is so bad that this group of angry dead people fed into Camille's Zeta Gundam and helped him have the energy to kill him. Now, this leads us to probably the most traumatic episode of Zeta Gundam, the last one wherein Big Sister Emma Sheen, who has been so reliable and so loved throughout the fucking show, just fucking accepts her death and bleeds out in space because she knows that once she's dead, Camille can take her soul and use it as fuel to further overclock his Gundam. And this is so fucking sad because honestly, she could have had a full life after this. She could have had kids. And in the long run, we do not know the quantitative power of Emma's soul as energy into the biosensor. So we're left asking, did she die in vain? Did the Zeta Gundam actually need her soul? And it's one of those haunting and sad questions that still haunts me now after the end of Zeta so many years later. Oh, and yeah, Judo did the same thing to Hammond in Double Zeta. It just kind of wasn't as cool because it was just a rehash of something we'd seen already. However, the long-term implications that a fucking Gundam weaponized dead people, and the more dead people died, the stronger it got, are fucking traumatic and never really touched on again until narrative. Now, I think it's a bit confusing because if it's a weapon, it seems to only work when the Gundam and the consensus of the dead souls have a vague unified goal, which is why it worked for Scirocco because everyone wanted him dead, and that also worked for Hammond because everyone wanted her dead. Now, the biosensor has never come back properly since then, but at the same time, I feel like the rules behind it would make it a crazy weapon that could only be used in war, whereas a losing side had to be murdered. But the consciousness of the souls dying would have to have a unified goal to make them focus on what they were trying to gain by winning. I'm not sure if the biosensor would just work for any dead people, because I think logistically it just wouldn't. I think in Zeta it made the most sense because it worked mostly for dead new types who had a personal connection with Camille Badan. In Double Zeta, when they used it there, it made a little less sense because this time around they were helping a total stranger in the form of Judo Ashtal. But then again, even if he was a total stranger, they did directly know Haman, and they did all have the goal of killing her because she was so bad. Oh, and I'm just noticing now on this rewatch today that Lala Soon is there. Lala Soon barely might have known Haman, definitely had nothing to do with Judo. It's more possible that Lala could have gained knowledge of Haman after her death and would have like a dislike of her due to the way she treated Char. The fact Lala is there is fucking fascinating. So, Gundam narrative. Gundam narrative is a big fucking like shadow over all this because Gundam narrative finally takes a big step back and is like, hey, did anyone else see the Zeta Gundam wield a 40-meter long sword composed of the souls of dead people? And it really makes you think about the serious scientific and religious complications of like that. Like, if that can happen, does that mean the afterlife is real? Does that mean heaven and hell are not real? Does this like indicate a scientifically correct religious belief? Anyway, I don't got time for that right now because one of these days I really just gotta get back to it and review narrative because narrative is a fucking mindfuck, especially if you have watched it right after watching Zeta. Because narrative is like, if you know Gundam, it's a fucking religious experience, and if you don't, it fucking doesn't make any sense because narrative is not marketed towards casuals. Narrative is like an upper level, like transcendent Gundam religious experience for like the most hardcorest of people. Anyway, back to Witch from Mercury. The internet is just fucking boiling right now. It's boiling with all these theories on like, who is Soletta Mercury? Who is Aerie? Is the Gundam Ariel Aerie? Is every single bit on this Gundam filled with a dead child? I don't know, but I guess we're gonna find out because in a couple of days, Gundam Witch from Mercury episode 7 is gonna drop, and maybe it'll address some of these concerns. Or maybe they won't be addressed to the end of the show when a bunch of fucking souls of dead people fly out and like help the Gundam do something it shouldn't logistically be able to do. But yeah, so right now, the big question right now, is this Gundam filled with a bunch of dead children? I'm not saying it is, but probably it is, because, you know, every once in a while, sometimes a Gundam needs to have a bunch of fucking dead souls to get its work done. I mean, haven't you all needed some dead souls to get your work done sometimes? It happens, I guess. Alright, anyway, I'm Buster Green, and for the love of God, please subscribe, 19 people. 19 goddamn people. Where are you, 19 people? I need you right now. Oh, and also, in addition to subscribing, please watch some of my older videos. This one's fun. Yeah, sure. Alright, thank you guys. See you later. Good night.